G'day guys, had to do a little video counting down the power rankings from week one of what to me has surprisingly, in my opinion, although I loved the cast so much, but I'm very shocked that this is actually my favourite episode of all time so far. If I'm comparing the best first three episodes of every other season, I think I'm looking at season 22, which Redemption Island, which trust me, even though the season does fall off a cliff a little bit, the first three episodes are amazing. And the merge episode is really good too. That one is my favourite sort of like episode from the first three episodes, and the other one is Winners at War. Winners at War was so much fun to see all these winners come together, and lots of really fun scenes in those first three episodes. But what we've got is, in my opinion, the best start to a season ever, surpassing those two. So we've had big names getting voted off, and we'll kick off the power rankings with the people who have been voted off, because obviously they've they've played the worst games, but in my opinion, the three of them did end up playing the worst games. I think Rob strong-arming the tribe into trying to go along with what is a very logical vote, and I think with Rob, it was a very logical vote, and I think that's one thing that sort of hurt him, was seeing what he thought was a very rational plan, very safe plan, and just assuming everyone else would want to go along with it. But one thing, it really seemed like Lisa wasn't a fan of Rob. I think that was a big difference maker in that episode, and that was a big reason why he went home. And again, I think it showed how Cirie and Tony played so well by sitting back and doing absolutely nothing, essentially. Cirie, trying to get Lisa on board with them also really helped, though. That's like the one thing that Cirie seemed to do. Parvati actually put herself in a lot more danger talking to Rob. But anyway, Rob is definitely number 14 as far as the worst players this season. Second worst player, it's got to be George. Even though George lasted longer than the Golden God, I don't think David did much to really get himself voted off. He actually did quite well. I think it was more just Sarah very smartly identifying that she didn't want to be in David's shadow was a really good idea. And again, David came off too charming to Kirby, which again is something I don't really ever fault people for, like being too much of a threat. So I put George at 13 because of how George acted in episode 3 for the most part. He was, even though him telling the World Tribe at the challenge that he was almost getting voted off, it's a really bad move because it sets him up to his other tribe mates on the Australian tribe that that he is the one who could flip. So I'm the one to come to if you want me to flip, because I almost got voted off. It's really bad, really bad. He did well putting up with David being kind of abrasive towards him though, which is good for him. But I think he really went wrong when he basically did not know that Shonee was going to come after him, and he trusted Shonee from the get-go. I think he wanted to work with Shonee so much, he let that blind him into what was really happening, which is Shonee was never going to work with George. Shonee always wanted to take out George, and that was Shonee's main goal. We're talking like Jerry versus wanting to vote off Colby in All-Stars. Like, Jerry wanted to vote off Colby more than she wanted to win All-Stars, I think. And this is a bit similar. Like, Shonee really wanted revenge. And yeah, very satisfying when it played out, because George was so arrogant to Luke and Janine. I think Janine summed it up well. Like, you're really going to tell Janine and Luke what to do? Do you know who you're talking to? And George's confessional where he voted for Luke, saying that it's you're not playing with the amateurs anymore, you're playing with the big boys, or whatever it was. That was so ironic, because I'm like, I don't think you get who is really good at this game, George. You've pulled off big moves in the past because, one, you've had to, because you're not great at getting in the majority. And he's fine, but like, he's often in the minority at the start of the game because he doesn't have a great social game. And two, it's because he was playing with a bunch of amateurs. Like, there's a lot of duds on Brains vs. Brawn 1. That season, it was really poor. Like, I remember watching it and there was barely anyone who was really playing the game. It was him, Haley, and a couple of people who got voted off early. And that's it. Like, there was no one who was really interested. I don't think a lot of them hadn't watched the show before, it seemed. And even Heroes as Villains, which was, if you don't know, in the Australian version of Heroes as Villains, it was a bit like Fans of His Favourites. It was like half-half. But there were 6 favourites on each tribe and 6 new people on each tribe, and all of them fit into the category of Heroes as Villains. But that was a lot of people as well who weren't really playing the game that hard. Even a lot of the returnees they picked weren't really like great game players necessarily. They were kind of just like heroic figures from out. They had, heroic jobs outside of Survivor. They lasted a while in their first season, and they were good in challenges. So they brought them back. George pulled off great moves in both those seasons, especially the Fraser move was amazing. But yeah, he's playing with the big boys now. He's playing with people who are all phenomenal at the game to different degrees, and especially Luke, who is the best player in Australian Survivor I've ever seen. And frankly, Kirby is getting close to rivaling that. Kirby's been really good as well, but Luke is the best. Like, Luke is perfect. Luke is the guy I'd always say is like every conversation, Luke is perfect in. Like, he approaches it the right way, whereas other people don't. David really didn't get a chance to do much in this game. I think Sarah not wanting to work in David's shadow through the game was a good move on her part to decide to get rid of him, but we'll get to Sarah a bit later on. But David really couldn't do much else in this game, so he was voted off. I think immediately going to Rob and trying to make an alliance with him heading up the slide was maybe a bit risky. Like, you didn't have to do that right from the get-go. But to be fair on David, I think David had reason to think he would be confident because he had a lot of friends in the game. He had very good friends in Sarah and Luke. And I don't think he ever would have thought that one of them would have turned on him. And I didn't either. I was shocked when Sarah did, but I loved it. And he also had played with Janine before, and the fact that he went in not looking for revenge with Janine, and I think he knew that he had an ally in Janine. So you've already got the majority there with people who you're fairly close, 2 people you're really close with, and a third who you've at least played the game with before. So yeah, David got a bit unfortunate. He's the one I probably feel bad for, but he's also, in my opinion, probably regarded as the greatest player in Australian Survivor history by most, and I think he's a bit overrated, even though he did play the best game of a winner in any Australian Survivor. In Survivor All-Stars, he was incredible. Pulled off a lot of fun moves, and in the pre-merge, he was incredible in the pre-merge, so much fun. And honestly did do some good stuff in the post-merge, even if most of it was just his initial kind of like blindside of his original tribe in the first episode of the post-merge. And then most of the rest of his game was just staying in the majority and then just trying to make sure that Brookwood didn't win immunity. And finally, when she didn't, that was like the last hurdle he had to clear. But yeah, it's been fun. Love these 3 for different reasons. But yeah, didn't love Rob much in this season after I was more than happy to bang on about how great he was in his first. And if you haven't seen it, Survivor Season 7 is fantastic in South Africa. Definitely worth a watch. He is legitimately... That is one of the best games I've ever seen. Like, single game. That's probably is my number 1 game I've ever seen by anyone in a single season. But there's a lot of... It's pretty close, but there's a lot of great contenders there. Even a bunch of people from this season, like Luke in season 4, David in season 5, George in season... What was Heroes as Villains? George in his second season. Like, they're all phenomenal games. Even Kirby in her last game was incredible as well. So even on the Australian tribe, there's a bunch of contenders, including Tony as well in Kagia. In his 2 winning seasons was incredible. Sari has had one of the best games ever, in my opinion, in Micronesia. I think she was absolutely amazing. So there's a lot of contenders even from this season. But let's get on to the people who are still in the game. So bottom of the list, I've got to put Sarah. I think Sarah's completely tanking her game. Just because Sarah is... she, I think, has no chance to win just because she's already kind of sabotaging herself. Kirby strong-arming her in the David vote at Tribal Council saying, no, we're voting for David. And her being like, oh, fuck. That was honestly helped her game. And now she's being helped a lot as well with people trying to get rid of George. And she has the chance to just be like, no, but now she's so fixated on trying to get one back on Kirby. It's just not going to work. Like, she's already tanking that alliance, which could be a great alliance in the game. I think Sarah's in big trouble. And I think people will catch on to all this and realise that Sarah is not a great player. She had the right mindset heading into the game, but now she's been completely thrown off it. And she's not staying the course, which... That was a great decision to want to actually get rid of David. But she didn't go through with it. She literally regretted that decision immediately, and now she's trying to get revenge on her number 1 ally, apparently. And she was so fixated on getting rid of Shonee. That's also not good, because Shonee's now still in the game. It's just, yeah, she's in trouble. I hate to say it, but Tony's been perfect. Apart from, like, not being the one to find the key or find the hidden immunity idol on the World Tribe, which I never really give people too much credit for necessarily, finding idols, unless it's like you're the one who isn't sleeping while everyone else is asleep and you're off working to find the idol. If everyone else is just looking around openly, it kind of is just luck of the draw. And Cass got lucky and Parvati got lucky. So they're the ones who I'd say would be in a much better position just based on that. But Tony has played perfectly. He's been completely subdued, not done anything, which is exactly what he should be doing, because he's doubly screwed by the casting. He was in the minority of Americans, in a minority of men, and it looks like through him sitting back and letting Rob and Parvati both kind of make themselves targets in the first episode, it seems like he has actually helped himself to save himself in the game and not be in the minority just based on being American. But now he's in trouble because he's, got a Y chromosome. So it's very difficult. I think it's also just the perception that Tony has too. I don't think Parvati, if you look at this seasons closely, I don't think Parvati's ever wanted to work with Tony. Parvati also was one of the few people who didn't vote for Tony in Winners at War. I've never thought that Parvati was a huge fan of Tony necessarily, and I don't think Parv wants to work with Tony whatsoever, so that's a big hurdle to climb. And Sari, maybe not either, so yeah, that's a tough one for Tony, and I think mostly because he is a guy, I think Tommy is in the next spot as well. I think Tommy seems wonderful as well. He seems like he's playing a fantastic game, other than the fact he just wasn't able to beat Parvati and Cass at finding the advantages, but Tommy's also in a bad position with Tony, and obviously if the women were to split the vote 2-2 and take out Tony and Tommy, that could easily be Tommy instead, because they probably will, because they must assume there is another idol out there, I guess, and probably want to split the vote still to be safe. So I imagine that's how the next World Tribal Council will go, with 2 votes on Tony, 2 votes on Tommy. And if something else were to happen, if Tony or Tommy were to win immunity, or there's lots of different things that could happen with that. So Tommy is in trouble, again, like Tony, not based on anything he's really done poorly, except just being outplayed by Parvati and Cass, because they're the ones who found the advantages at camp. We'll get into part 2 of the video very soon. I'll be posting that one very soon for you guys as well. I'm going to film them back to back, just so this one, it was already gone more than long enough. And but yeah, what a first 3 episodes run. Can't wait for this. And that's my American accent coming out. Can't wait for this. Can't wait for this. And can't wait. Going for Luke, going for Sari. As someone who's watched all the American and all the Australian seasons, my 2 favourite players of all time, Sari and Luke, are out there, so I couldn't be happier. And huge fan of a lot of the other ones as well. Huge fan of Tony. Yeah, huge fan of Kirby. There's a lot of good stuff coming up. So enjoy, and I can't wait to post the next set of videos with more power rankings coming up, including, of course, part 2 of this one.